We decided we were going to play a Star Wars D20 game that my friend had that was going to be set in the Old Republic and, no kind of involvement with the stuff that was going to happen in the movies or anything like that. It was going to be a number of years before any of that was going on. And I had decided, hey, one thing we're going to need in this setting is a way to get around. So either we're going to have to keep buying access on starships or something, or one of us is going to have one. And so I decided that I was going to play a smuggler who had a ship, so that if we ever needed a ship, we would have one available. And so I built my class as a scoundrel, and I decided to play with it a little bit, but I'll get to that in a second. But everybody else started building characters around the fact that I had a ship. My initial idea was, okay, well, we'll have a ship, and then we'll do adventures, and then whenever we need to go somewhere, hey, I happen to have a ship, we can go. But what they ended up deciding to do was build characters related to that. So some of them were people who hung out with me as part of the small crew in my smuggling ring. And a couple people were just like, all right, well, I'm going to have a character that has a reason to be on this ship. Like one guy was a Jedi who was going undercover, had to go out to the Outer Rim and investigate some stuff, and was looking for passage. And so we're building these characters, and we look at the cast, and we look at the crew and the ship and everything, and we go, hey, wait a second. Did we just recreate Firefly in the Star Wars universe? And the GM was like, you know what, I think we did. You guys want to run with that? And we're like, absolutely. So we ran with that. And we had a blast with that campaign. And I've actually considered doing a series of skits based around those characters in that setting, but I haven't sat down to figure out how to do that yet. But I did want to tell you a little bit about my captain, because my character was, like I said, the captain and the owner of the ship, and, kind of the key smuggler guy. And his thing was that he was a Force user, but did not believe the Force existed. He thought it was all some kind of political conspiracy. The Jedi were just claiming to have access to this stuff so that they could maintain political power, and it was this weird religious thing that he wasn't really interested in. And so he didn't believe the Force existed, but he could access Force powers. And so he was restricted to only using Force powers that he could explain. So he could use the Jedi mind trick, and he just explained it as he's a very compelling person, and he can convince people of things, and did not believe that the Force was involved at all. He could use Force flight, but only to jump really far, because he was from a high-gravity planet, so obviously he can jump farther. Now, obviously this did limit him in some ways, even though he was not a Jedi and therefore could access some more gray Jedi-type abilities like Force lightning and stuff. He never could, because he couldn't explain that away. So that was the agreement that I made with the GM was, okay, I can only use Force powers if I can explain it some way. And more often than not, what he actually used his Force points for was luck, to augment his rolls and stuff like that. But there's a Jedi on the ship who's looking at a guy who he knows is not a Jedi, but is clearly using the Force. And so he had some problems with this. And at first he was very suspicious. He thought maybe the Sith are real. Maybe there's Sith out there, and this guy is like undercover or something. And as he got closer and started paying more attention, he realized, no, this guy literally just doesn't believe the Force exists. He's some kind of idiot. And so he decided he was going to try to convince my character that the Force existed and that he has access to the Force, and therefore he needs to use it responsibly. And it didn't work. Like, everything he tried to do to convince my character that my character was using the Force would just get brushed off. Like, he was like, no, that's anyone can do that with enough practice or whatever. That's not a Force thing. But because of this, it came out that he was a Jedi, and he started talking more openly about the Force to my character. And they would go back and forth and about this over and over again. And he started knowing that this guy was a Jedi. It was undercover. He started having him come and be a bodyguard with him on missions. And so one day, he goes to the captain's quarters. The little room that my character lived in. And on a shelf above the bed there, he saw a lightsaber. And the Jedi's like, I'm sorry, hold up. Where did you get that? He goes, oh, that's my don't stick. I got that off of... We were transporting another Jedi some years ago, and he died, and I picked it up. He goes, I'm sorry, did you call that your don't stick? He goes, yeah. That's my don't stick. That's what that is. And he goes, no, that's a lightsaber. He goes, yeah, whatever. And he goes, what do you mean by that name? And my character goes, you'll see. And so a number of sessions later, which is some weeks in game, we're negotiating with some underworld figure to move some resources in the direction that we're going. And the Jedi is there as a bodyguard, not looking like a Jedi. He's just kind of undercover. But he's there as a bodyguard. And the underworld guy has bodyguards. And my character said something that upset the underworld guy. And so his bodyguards start moving forward. And my character just kind of opens his jacket to reveal the lightsaber there and just goes, don't. And rolls intimidation. That Jedi was so mad at me. He's like, that's what you have that for? That you have one of the greatest items, like one of the most important relics to the Jedi. Like, the Jedi invest in their lightsabers. Like, this is a personal artifact of a fallen Jedi, and you're just using it to scare criminals? Like, what is the matter with you?